Well, our
No, I haven't.
Airport activity.
I did see it online yesterday.
Better cut that out. It's probably the only time.
Next month it'll be a different article.
Very Bob. Yes.
Good. Hey, Kenny. Hi, guys. I'm good. How are you?
I already did it.
I just wanted to
I should just show up.
Take the sign.
Listen, he runs itself.
Well, I changed my mind. I don't want It's 3:30, and I'd like to call today's meeting of the Ways and Means to order. And first of all, I'd like to apologize for any inconvenience for rescheduling this meeting. It just seemed prudent at the time. Could you take roll call, please? Yes.
Do we get days off when it's cold too?
No, but we're going to deduct your mileage.
Commissioner Cross?
Here.
Commissioner Engel?
Here.
Commissioner Hughes?
Here.
Commissioner Mahoney?
Here.
Commissioner Nash?
Here.
Commissioner Sabo?
Here.
Commissioner Skolnick?
Here.
Commissioner Wilkins?
Here.
Commissioner Berezinski?
Here. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of February 7, 2013? Oh, I'm sorry. February 7th, what did I say, second? Okay, moved by Mrs. Hughes, seconded by Rose. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion has it. Is there any public comment on today's agenda items? Okay. We'll move on to items for consideration. WM 13/02-14, approved accounts payable. So moved by Mr. Cross.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Nash. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. WM 13/2-15, approve Muskegon County low bidder preference award and make appropriate revisions to the county board's purchasing policy. Moved by Mr. Nash. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Mahoney. Is there any discussion on this item? Yes, Mr. Mahoney.
I would move that we table our motion at this point and direct the administrator to set up a work session for in-depth study of this particular issue.
And supported by Mrs. Hughes. There'll be no discussion. We'll take a vote on that. Can we have a roll call vote, please, on the table to motion number 15? No discussion.
Commissioner Cross?
Yes. It's on the motion.
Motion to table.
Motion to table.
Actual motion.
But the motion to table,
Want to have a date?
Just give a direction to the, as soon as possible.
I want to make sure I'm correct in, but the motion to table takes preference over any discussion.
Yes, it does, Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. Just make sure I'm doing it right. Always correct me. I'm used to being wrong. I'm good at it, too. A roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Cross?
Yes.
Commissioner Derzinski?
Yes.
Commissioner Engel?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Mahoney?
Yes.
Commissioner Nash?
Yes.
Commissioner Sabo?
Yes.
Commissioner Stolman?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins?
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, thank you. That motion carries to table. WM 13/02-16, Muskegon County Land Bank Treasurer's Office authorize amendment to Land Bank Authority.
So moved.
Thank you. We have a motion by Mr. Cross, seconded by Mr. Mahoney. And is there any discussion? I was in Tony's office earlier discussing these. Are there any questions? I'd like to ask Mr. Graziotis, is he awake?
I'm awake.
I couldn't believe how busy your office is.
Well, it's the time of the year, too.
Is it okay?
That's when you guys need all the money, so we gotta be. Any questions from anybody?
Mrs. Hughes.
Yes.
Would you explain to me what this is gonna do?
Okay. When the Board of Commissioners 6 years ago decided they're gonna start the Land Bank Authority in Muskegon County, we based it on the model of Genesee County, which was actually the beginning of the land bank system in the state of Michigan. And when the paperwork was done, there was the assumption and the intent that the land bank deals on behalf of the Board of Commissioners. The Board of Commissioners at the time have given the authority to act to the land bank with anything to do with foreclosures. There is a thing that's called the first right of refusal, the second right of refusal, and then the third right of refusal falls on the Board of Commissioners, which they gave the right to the Land Bank Authority Board in order to do that. When the paperwork was done, copying the Genesee County paperwork, there was a couple of words that were omitted out of there. And because of the recent lawsuit that happened in Kent County, which, by the way, the landlords lost the lawsuit and it was prevailed that the land bank there was doing the right thing, we decided that maybe we should put those words in there just for the future in case there's any misunderstandings.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Tony, and at that time, I think we were the only second land bank to be
We were number
created.
3.
Number 3, and
Right.
since then, so from time to time, I think there's going to be revisions in that authority.
Well, yeah, it's something that should have been caught back then. It does not mean or demean the authority that we have and how we've been doing things, but it's best to have it in the intergovernmental agreement, just in case any questions ever come up.
Thank you. I'm sure there'll be some, yes, Mr. Skolnick?
Tony, we were the number 3 land bank in the state or in the country?
In the state. It was Genesee County, Income County, and then Muskegon County. And I don't know if you guys remember, but because we were part of the beginning of the land banks, part of the cost of forming the land bank was paid by the state land bank authority. when we had to bring in the people in to teach us all that stuff and everything else, so.
Tony, I think you do a great job with it.
If I could make one more comment. The other day, I think we all received a newsletter via email from the land bank, and I took the time to read the whole thing, and, you know, I think you're doing a fabulous job with it.
Well, it's not me, it's the office,
Well,
and
not
and
you,
Tim
not
Burgess
you.
that's here today, that we have contracted with him, you know, over the years, is doing a tremendous job. That's why we won the national award last year of Land Bank Award, so
Because
the
I
credit
noticed-
goes to everybody that's involved, not just one person.
I noticed that after your name as chairman, it's set by statute, so I know it wasn't a popular vote.
That's okay. Anybody that wants the chairmanship, I'll pass it on to. So. Anybody else?
I'm sure, Tony, there'll be questions on the next two items.
No problem.
Okay.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
any other
Here
discussion?
then.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carried. WM 13/217, authorize adoption of application for deferment of taxes resolution.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Mahoney, seconded by Mr. Cross. Are there any discussions on this item?
Yeah.
Ms. Hughes?
That was- Since that's not up there, I'm just double checking. Is this the one where they're gonna borrow the money for the property taxes?
No, no. This is the one that it's an annual thing that happens, that we need an approval by the board in order to happen, that we defer the winter taxes for people that have to do
Oh,
with the
yes.
military and everything.
Okay, thank you.
And that includes seniors too.
Correct.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. WM 13/0218, thank you. Authorize treasurer's office to resignation. Oh, no, reorganization. Got a motion by Mr., that was reorganization. Okay. Is there a second to that? Seconded by Mr. Olstein. Any discussion?
Yes, I have some.
Okay, Ms. Hughes.
You know, I looked at this when they did it back in 2002. And I looked, it appeared to me that in 2002, the motion was presented and voted on, that all it did was move to repeal the animal control ordinance as of September 30th. It didn't change where the animal control went to.
Okay, that's not what this is about, but it's connected in a sense from what you're
Because I see
saying.
the animal licensing thing there, that it looked like you were going to use some of that person to offset some of that, but it didn't look like you actually had the authority to even do that, and we need to go back and straighten that out so that that authority does belong to you.
Okay, that's not correct. By state statute, the dog license falls under the county treasurer's jurisdiction.
Okay,
Years ago, before my time and before anybody else's time up here, for some reason, it was turned over to the health department.
okay,
Over the years, there's been some issues and some troubles and so forth, so finally the board at the time asked me if I was willing to take that back, or, you know, make it like most other counties are, and we were willing to do so.
well, since it is a money thing, it seemed like it should have been at the treasurer's office in the first place.
Mhm.
But when I read this, it said that they were gonna move it back to you, but when the motion was presented, it didn't have that in there, and I was afraid that we hadn't
No,
completed
that's all
everything
done
we
in,
needed to do.
right,
Perfect.
we took over the licensing part, and the sheriff took over the
Okay,
enforcement.
okay. Perfect, thank you.
For free.
Yes, Mr. Coleman.
Was this the
reorganization?
additional money?
No.
Say that again, I mean.
This was not budgeted for the additional expenditure?
There's really no threat to the general fund on this thing whatsoever. There is a organization in the office because a lot of them took a lot of extra responsibilities. There's a lot more work. The $35,000 that Commissioner Hughes is talking about it was the money that the health department was using for administrative costs. And we're using the same amount of money to spread it among the people that have taken the extra responsibility on. So really, it's a step up, so to call. Maybe Bonnie can explain a little bit better.
When the ordinance was repealed, which moved it back to what the state statute required, the sheriff and the treasurer took it on, and we did not know at that time what the impact was going to be to the departments. And so, since that time, the treasurer has looked at the impact to his office and has, that's what this reorganization is that impact.
But so some of this expense is coming from the health department?
Some of this, according to what it says right there on the animal licensing part in the back, is the $35,000 that was used there for administrative costs is moving over to my department for administrative costs.
The pot is the same.
Yeah, the money's just going
Yeah,
to a
there's no
different
change
place.
to the
Okay.
funds.
And then the other thing, this 2011 delinquent tax fund decrease of the $19,600. What exactly does that mean? Does that mean you're using some of the delinquent tax fund money? I don't understand.
Well, I'm going to let Hanson come up here and explain that a little bit.
Dan Hanson, Deputy Treasurer, I'm sorry. What that's doing on the 5161 fund is it's actually a reduction, because right now we're paying people out of the delinquent tax fund to license animals. So by virtue of changing the funding, okay, we're reducing the funding that's needed in the delinquent tax fund, shifting it over to the animal control. And so in essence, we have a $35,000 increase, but also eventually will be offset with a $19,000. So you're at $15,000, $16,000 actually in general fund. And that's not even quite one FTE when you figure it should be about one clerical staff position to, if they licensed all day.
But it says a decrease, so, and then I look at delinquent tax fund, you'd think it's delinquent and a decrease would be like a negative, but it's not, it's actually positive.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
I have one other question.
Yes,
This is just a, I don't even know what kind of question it is, but I want to know, can all of the girls in your office, anybody take care of the dog tags, or does you
Yes.
just have one person? So anybody can
Except
do it.
we have one person that's included in this thing also that has taken over the whole program,
Okay.
which is Jennifer Matthews in our office. To give you an example, when we took over the program on October 1st, we inherited a mess. About 12,000 dogs, and there's no data on about 12,000 dogs in Muskegon County. We have to go through from beginning. It's going to take months just to correct that problem along, and it falls just on this lady alone to do it. So although every clerk is responsible to issue license and everything else, she's overseeing that from her position.
Okay.
At the same token, every municipality, with the exception of maybe a couple so far, are not participating in this. And with the new BSNA program that came in, we have a BSA program in every municipality. Now everything's going to be on a push of a button coming through. At the same time, we're cutting down costs because we went to one tag, lifetime tag, instead of changing the tags every year. It's going to be just like a license plate for your car. You put the sticker, put it on. In this case, you don't put a sticker, you get a paper license.
Okay.
So we try to do it more convenient for the taxpayer to begin with, for less cost, so to call it. So,
As a dog owner, I appreciate that.
well, thank you.
Commissioner Hughes, if I may, just a further point of clarification. Instead of having one position tied to the animal licensing program, what we did is we took an average over all the clerical positions so that each window can service anybody from the
That's what I
public.
was
And we do
hoping
that
you would
across
do.
the board, yeah.
Thank you.
That way not one position's tied to
Sure.
it. If that ever becomes vacant, then you're doing all these funding transfers all the time, and it's
I
more
was hoping
recording.
that, now with the licenses coming due with the rabies, they wouldn't all come due
Right.
right at your tax time.
Exactly.
So it would be easier for everybody to do
We
it.
also, the next step we're going to take is getting the vets together. The idea here is when they give the rabies shot, that they can sell the license at the same time. So
My-
people don't have to go to a lot of different places.
My only thought on that is, last time I got my license, they gave me a little orange sheet of paper that said, you can go to the place in Fruitport and get your spay and neuter really cheap. Well, you know, that's not gonna fly good with the vets who charge 3 times as much. You know, so that may be kind of a stepping stone that you might wanna address before you start talking to the vets.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Nash.
Tony, I only have one question, and that was, I was looking at the ones that had no change, and I was trying to figure why the increase for the no change.
The one position that has no change in funding?
Actually, two.
There's 2.
There's 2. Okay, the one position is because that clerical position spends 100% of her time in the cash office, which services all the county departments. It's a general fund type position. She doesn't work at the window, she doesn't take delinquent tax receipts all day, animal license and issue tags. Her position is basically, I would call it like a head cashier. She doesn't service, she's not a frontline service window operator. She services the county general departments as a whole.
She's the one that receives all the money coming in from all departments, raises the deposits and gives the receipts, takes the payments for retirees, you know, on the insurance and all that kind of stuff, so.
And that would be the same with the cash manager.
I'm still trying, I'm not understanding why the request for the increase.
The request for the increase.
On those 2 positions, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, the one position, because they're all count clerk 2s in that one category. So where there's no funding change, okay, on the one, she still is an account clerk 2 with additional responsibility. They're all a union position, all at the same level.
Okay, now union, that makes a difference, but the other position,
The cash manager.
yes.
Well, I'll give you a perfect example. I don't know who's here today, but for this past year and a half, that person there is the one that's balancing your books and accounting and everything else. He has taken so much more responsibility on that he needs to get something for it. And the increase is not that much. It's just a one step. And since we're doing this thing for everybody, it was only fair. We didn't put anything in there for me or for the deputy. It's just only fair to make it equally within the office system.
We've had with the I used to
The only problem
know,
I got is that you say no change on here, and then you say there's change.
no funding change.
No funding change.
That's what I thought
Okay,
too.
but this is new labor distribution.
The labor distribution should be the same.
Right. it
There's
says no
labor
change.
distribution changes on some of the positions, but not
I guess
all
what
of
I
them.
don't have here is where you're showing the increase in whatever report. Because you did an analysis of these positions,
We're
correct?
just talking about this. That's the one we're talking about here.
I'm sorry. What's
So
your
you
question?
did a study of all these positions.
I had, yes.
Increase in
The study
work.
wasn't personally done by me, but it was done by budget.
Right, okay. And what you're showing in the labor portion is the new labor increase in work?
No, the labor distribution, that's the cost center, where everybody's costed out. In other words, if you work at the airport, you're a certain fund, organization, account number. Work in the treasurer's office, you're a fund.
Okay.
Yeah, that's your labor
Because this is
distribution.
confusing, 'cause
Yeah.
right now, to me, it looks like there's no labor increase, but we want to
No, your
raise-
labor distribution, Mr. Nash, is where you're charged to in the county budget. So my labor distribution is 10-10-0253, the treasurer's office, or general fund, the treasurer's office. That's a labor distribution charge. It's pretty much strictly just for payroll purposes.
Just in the future, what would help me
Yes.
is to have the report of what labor increases came along with those positions. That way, we have some labor increase that justifies the increase, because this is totally confusing. And to me, just looking at it, it was saying the opposite. So,
Okay,
in the
I
future,
understand.
I would,
see what
I hear
you're
you
saying.
saying now that there's been some increase in the things that they do.
Tremendous
But,
increase.
you know, my thing is, I'd like to see it.
Well, the cash manager, you recall, I was the cash manager for several years.
Right.
I mean, you remember that position well. When we went to this whole new BS&A system, I mean, we are the nucleus for the cash management in the county. not the administration, not accounting, not your IS department. We service all the county departments, their subsidiary ledgers, everything. I mean, Stacy's desk is like this from day to day, and he's doing a heck of a job making sure he manages that data and gets through it, so that at the end of the day, we can balance to zero, and we have a balanced set of books and a bank reconciliation every month, and that's important.
Yeah, and I don't want you to think I don't believe you.
No, I know
But
you.
I'm saying, I know we've had that before, and we've had some
The-
increases,
the-
and they've
Oh, yeah.
shown us what, you know, what has gotten
Right.
increased in those positions, so.
I apologize, Mr. Nash. This is really in accounting terms, and we need to clarify these motions better for the commission in the terms of what we're requesting from you. And we'll do that in the future. We will.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. WM 13/02-19, authorize adoption of the resolution allowing Muskegon County to borrow against the anticipated 2012 delinquent
So moved.
taxes. Moved by Mr. Charles, seconded by Mr. Cross. Are there any questions? Ms. Hughes.
I have a question on that. If we're gonna borrow $12 million, I noticed in here, as we went down on page 20, it says, the treasurer is authorized to sell the notes, including purchase of insurance and other credit enhancements. So would that increase the $12 million? That
No.
you will be able to take that out?
Right, this bonds come out, they're payable back in 18 months in 3 different installments.
Okay,
And it's an annual thing again, just like the first thing that you approved on this request. And this is to make everybody else whole.
Right.
The roads are turned over to us, they need the money to operate, the law says we have to do all this and so
I
forth.
understood that. I just wondered if we would actually be paying more than that.
No, the only thing we're paying more is really the interest that we have to pay, that we recoup, of course, but help me guys.
The cost of issuance, bond attorney, Miller Canfield,
Right.
we have to pay them. We pay First Southwest for doing our consulting fees,
Okay.
putting together
But
our
we received the
official
lowest interest rate ever at 0.0 something, I think. What was it last year?
0.7 or something like this.
Okay, so with a lot of other counties, one are successful. Some of them that are self-funded, they don't have to go through this process.
Right.
So I like to see the data Muskegon County is self-funded on this.
Oh, and I noticed that you sell the notes, it says you can, the treasurer is authorized to sell the notes at private or public sale and to make any appropriate revisions. Can you, what would be the, why would you sell it at a public or a private? Is there an advantage of one over the other?
Well,
Is the guy that
selling it
does
at
all
a
this,
public
so-
sale.
Please identify yourself.
Yeah.
Dan Hanson, Deputy Treasurer. Selling the notes at a public sale means that we go in on one certain day and we get what the market gives us.
I see,
Okay, and it could be a fluctuation that day where we pay 2%.
right?
Okay. Doing it at a private sale means that we can negotiate, okay, with local banks. And to them, it's a short-term
Right,
way to lend money. For us, it's a way to get out of doing a lot of the extra work going along with a public sale.
okay.
So we did that a couple of years ago, as a matter of fact, with PNC. And got a really good rate at the time. I think it was like just a little over 1%. So some years it has its advantage, others.
And it
You know,
says to make appropriate revisions, is that what you would do, make that decision, or how, what is an appropriate revision?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure what an
Okay.
appropriate revision is. I mean, to me, it's a public sale or a private
Okay.
sale, an appropriate
That's what-
revision.
Thank you, that was an excellent explanation.
It's, what happens with these bonds, of course, our rating as a county has a lot to do with this thing, and part of the repayment and everything else affects our rating. And the reason that our rating is as good as it is because every year we have done well on this thing, so.
I did talk to my township treasurer, and he said, don't rock the boat, we need that money, so. But I just had a couple of questions.
If I may, Tony,
Yes.
not a question as much as an observation. If I recall, the state allows the treasurer's office to charge 1% a month on this. Yet we're borrowing it, I mean, 1% a month, 12% a year.
It's the same thing that doing business. I mean, that's what they allow you, that's what you go for. We're a banking system when it comes to that point also too, so.
Okay, that's my point. And the people who are delinquent are the people who are delinquent because they can't afford it. And 12% interest to me is kind of unheard of. But I know we gotta cover some of the cost of.
There's more cost to it than just the interest.
And Tony, I'm aware of that. It's just, I think that.
And it's not just 1% is the first year when they're delinquent. The second year when they're in forfeiture, that's 1.5%.
So it actually ends up at 18%.
I mean.
And that, I really think that's kind of a sad thing, that we charge somebody who's struggling hard to keep their home, and we charge them 18%, and then we foreclose on it, and the land bank sells it for X amount of dollars, and then they loan money at 6% for somebody to buy that house that you force somebody out, paying 18% to interest.
But there's always things in place that we have, like a hardships. Not that just because you didn't pay your taxes doesn't mean you're going to lose your property. You know, we couldn't qualify you for hardships. We couldn't qualify you for poverty exemptions. There's a lot of different ways that we help these individuals. And over the years, I think most of you know that we are very well, have saved an awful lot of homes in Muskegon County because of the programs that we have in place. As far as the interest is concerned, it's a standard thing.
Well, and I would like to say, I didn't know you just administered the program that helped people with their taxes, and that was a really great thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry I brought up the 18%, but it sure helps the land bank.
Commissioner Terezinski, I'll tell you, we don't like it as much as you do, but you know, you got to follow the law.
I understand, and I know it's statute. It just,
right.
When they passed it, the whole interest issues were different.
Yeah.
Mr. Skolnick?
No, I don't, Mrs. Hughes just used the term, said that you forced people or something like that, and really, he's not doing anything, he's just enforcing the law, and this is just the taxes, saying nothing about if they are delinquent with the bank.
Oh, right.
So, I mean, Tony isn't making these rules up as he goes, he's just following.
No, we're governed by laws, and that's all.
Do we have to have the 18%, or is that the maximum we could charge?
That's the max that we can charge. There is special situations for special reasons, if they want to serve right, if something's happening in the process of foreclosing, that then it comes to my office, and then I can make adjustments from there if they need it.
So the county actually could charge less.
We can forgive. It's forgiving part of the interest for special circumstances, for specific reasons. For example, somebody's in Afghanistan fighting, and somehow the system has missed and comes back. I'm not going to charge them that interest when it comes there. I have the right and the authority to waive that.
And that's the proper revisions we talked about. Mr. Clark.
Obviously, since we have to borrow money to pay the delinquent taxes, we're not charging too much because we don't have enough there to cover the ones. I mean, that's
okay. Can we take
I think it's important to keep in mind too. I mean, you know, nobody likes paying property taxes, but we do, and that's what keeps our government operations and alive and going. And I think that's the penalty people pay for not making them timely payments. And I'd rather charge somebody 12% interest than to take their house. So, I mean,
I would too, but
we work with a lot of people, and we try to connect a lot of people with a lot of different local resources to keep people in their homes as much as possible.
I love the questions that are coming. I'd like to say something to you guys. I will invite any one of you to come through the department and learn about these things, because you sit up here making decisions about important things, and if your knowledge is not 100% there, then we don't mind the questions, but it's best if you know what.
I agree.
So all of them are welcome anytime you want to come over and we'll sit down and go through everything.
If I could add to that, you know, when I was appointed to the land bank to serve there, I was very apprehensive at first, but I can assure you that after I've sat in on those meetings and taken part, learned about the program and what it's all about, it's a terrific program, and I have to give a lot of credit to Mr. Malanciotis and former Commissioner Snyder for getting that program started up. It's a very good program, and well worth it.
A little history on that program. It started up, you know what, Tony?
Well, it started with the golf game, actually.
Yep, it did at one of our conventions at the MAC convention. it took off. I met the gentleman, with John Snyder, and
And the young man is a US congressman today, by the
yeah,
way.
yeah, we met him and it was over a golf game. So those conferences are important, even though I'm not going.
The conference of the golf game.
I can't golf, I'm not going. No, I don't golf, I'm teasing you. Do that ski lodge. Okay. Thank you, both of you, Mr. Hanson.
Thank you.
Mr. Luaccio, for showing up. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Is there any old business? Thank you, gentlemen. Any old business? Is there any new business to be brought up? I would like to bring up something that's very kind of dear to my heart. And I want to make sure, I think the toughest year of my life was the year after I came home from Vietnam. Suicide rates that we have for veterans is appalling. Two things that have happened that I think we should be aware of. One, we had a chance in the state legislature to pass a bill that if there was certain military training, these people could come home and find jobs very quickly. And Tony, you and I had a discussion. It's tough. It's very tough. And in the 60s, it was tougher. The other thing, and I just wanted to put that out there, and we had that, people voting no against that in the state legislature. It's just appalling. The second part of this is there's also a veterans hiring preference requirement. And it's pretty much required in law, I think federal and state, where you're taking federal dollars. I want to make sure that we're following that our policies adapt or adhere to that. And B, is there something we could do to enhance it? And I did talk to Corporal Counsel. I surely would like to see us make sure we're doing all we can in that area.
Commissioner Derazinski, I'm familiar with the act, and we can get you some material to help you decide. Take a look at that.
Okay, is there something we can do to enhance it also?
Give you the options that you have.
Okay, thank you so much.
Do our current applications have anything on there for veteran status?
I believe there is something, and it does ask about military service, but I do believe there's a point system in there, you know, that I hope we're adhering to. And I'm not finding fault, I just want to bring it to the forefront to make sure we can help those young men and women. When you think about going 4, 5, 6 combat, it's tough. Okay, thank you very much, and I deeply appreciate that. Is there any public comment on a new topic?
Let's back up real quick.
Yes.
In regards to Tuesdays, this meeting is delayed on Tuesday. With the weather conditions the way they were, I was definitely not disappointed with that. But at the same time, I want to make sure that in the future, if we do delay those meetings or postpone those, that the most extreme conditions exist. I don't know what the perception is from our employees who have to be here working, and we're deciding that we're not going to come because of the weather. And so, again, I'm all for that, but at the same time, I hope that we restrict that to the worst conditions that there are.
And I hope we create a policy for that. There is none. Okay. I know you are. Okay. And I guess, yes, Mr. Charles.
And on that note, actually, I appreciate the comments you made too. So I'm thinking maybe the workshop idea is great. We can get some of that added into our ideas for preferences. But also, I wanted to bring up something a little bit different, and that is we do our appointments typically, and as we do those appointments, sometimes we end up where certain appointments are just not working out for whatever reason there may be. But the problem that we have is that I don't think we ever review those or ever really have a review come back to us. And I think it's time maybe we even set a schedule of those appointments that we have and having a review. I don't know if it would be 6 months or every year, but at least get some type of feedback or something in regards to those appointments that we have, because they have a big effect on the groups as far as quorums, as far as the decisions that are being made, and I don't think that we should take those lightly, especially as hard as sometimes we fight for them. We want to make sure that they're functioning.
Yes.
So, since Charles brought that up, I wondered too, you know, we have a lot of those committees, citizen-appointed committees. Do those ever come back and give a report to the board about what they've done or what they do, or how do we find out what those committees do? And I guess I thought they would give their input back to the board on what they do. Do they ever do that?
Depends on what their charge is. I mean, if you have a specific charge, like, go do this, that. But a lot of them are advisory.
But do they ever come back and advise us?
They don't necessarily advise the commission, but they advise departments.
Oh, I see. It would be nice if they kind of came back and, you know, occasionally we had a session where they could come in and tell us what they've done or what they think they should be doing and aren't, or just at least tell us if the committee's working or not.
That would be more of a department.
Would that be, okay, it's more of a department thing, okay.
Thank you. Any other comments? And I believe I asked for public comment, did I not? Mr. Tony.
Tony Mulech, County Treasurer. I just want to make a comment. I was involved in a meeting this noon. I had to do with the NSP grant for the Oakview neighborhood. There are 2 of the houses have been completed there, and the meeting had to do with a lot of banks that were there. Almost every local operating bank was present, and the reason I'm coming from here to tell you is that the man that could not make it because of an emergency on the national level, David Belkey, we had him on the phone, and he made the comments that for 31 years that he's been in this business, this was the best paperwork ever submitted in for these funds. This was the best work that's ever done, and he believes that Judy Kell and his staff should be a national model about doing the same thing in other communities. So I just want to give kudos to Judy since she's here about that.
That was no secret. We've known her for a long time, Tony. Okay, any other? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion and a support. Oh, yeah, excuse me. I'm sorry. Did I not ask?
My name's Corey Ann Ambrose.
And where are you from?
I'm from here in Muskegon.
Okay.
And I'm a caregiver. And I'm not sure where I need to enter it. I'm kind of, I'm new to coming to the board members. There's some things that are issues that aren't really being clarified since the state appeal court and the rulings that have been going on with dispensaries, caregivers, patients, and things like that.
And this is a ways and means. I surely want you to get your answers.
Yes,
okay?
yeah.
I think that's most important, and I'm going to call on our administrator afterwards, if you would, please. Meet with her to make sure she can get you in front of the right board or in front of the right people so you get your answers.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm just curious, what she said, ma'am,
Yes.
you said you're a caregiver, does that mean, what does that mean?
I provide medical marijuana for patients.
Okay.
I have, yes. That's what you need for clarification of.
I thought that's what it meant.
Okay. Okay, any others? Okay, we take a vote on the motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.